Right, a lovely day here, a rare one in Britain. Things are improving. You do a bit of differential practice today. Got a mini 7-iron. Probably seen these knocking around. Free advert there. It's pretty small. Here it is in comparison to a normal club. Half the size or less, whatever. Just going to use this to make things harder. We're going to explore some movement parameters. So we can get some normal shots if we wish with this. A bit low, but not bad. To work on our strike, face, strike. Obviously, the room for error is much smaller with something this size. However, when you get used to this club, as I have, it's not that difficult to hit decent shots. So that was a little bit of a low draw. That was a high fade, a bit picky, a bit choppy, but the strike was fundamentally okay across the face laterally. You know, I didn't shank it, didn't toe it, and like I said, the room for error is so small in this. If you are off by a little bit, you're going to get a terrible result. So once you get used to this, you could argue it stops serving much of a purpose just hitting conventional shots, but what we can do is increase some of the difficulty and explore some odd starting positions to make that strike that little bit harder. So one of the things we'll give a go, we'll set one up right outside the ball, you know, obscenely outside the ball. I'm not just out of the hosel, I'm way outside. What I'm going to have to do is fight this hard not to hit the hosel. So anything other than a shank, consider a reasonable result here. Difficult to say, to see probably on the camera, but that was certainly not a shank. I actually hit that in the toe. Now what I would theorize with something like that is that my adaptation to that setup has been so strong there to get away from the hosel or to avoid missing the ball entirely on the outside that I've overdone it and hit the toe as a result. So we'll try one more time, get it on the face, get a bit more height to it. That was pure. Right, so we've managed there to take a harder implement, put ourselves in a position we pretty much never hit the ball from, but still find the middle of the face on a task that is already more difficult, even with a normal setup. Now I can do the opposite. You can set up way inside the ball. Again, bring the toe possibly more into play, altering our visuals massively. We just want to see if we can hit a reasonable strike. And that was a toe shank, which is what one would expect. Now, with a normal club, bigger head, perhaps that wouldn't have happened. You know, I'm going to have more degrees of freedom there with the bigger head. Seems weird, but I'm actually pleased with that because I'm trying to make this difficult enough to force myself to learn, right? If everything's easy, you're not learning. So now we're going to try and hit the middle. And there we have it. Big high draw, which, actually not that high, but big draw, which you'd expect more likely coming from the inside from that starting position. What I've done there is made a big improvement from shot to shot. Now, whether that can be consistent remains to be seen. I'll try it one more time. But all I felt on this, not thinking technically, all I'm feeling is trying to get more into the heel when I'm starting it, way away from the heel, right? So I'm starting it outside the toe by a long way. And in order to offset that chance of a toe shank, which we had on the first one, there we go, that's pretty good, that's pretty middle. It's come out low, you know, the dynamic lie of the club, when it's that far away from me, it's probably going to flatten out a lot, right? And then it's going to point the face a bit left, and necessarily de-loft, but I don't really care about that. As I said, working on one particular thing there, which is lateral strike across the face with a difficult implement with weird starting positions. Loads of variety you can include with that, but that's one drill you could use in practice to really test yourself.